Hey Fiends, before we get into today's episode, I wanted to tell you about something super cool. So, I think at this point I'm well on the record as being, really excited about supporting independent creators. And I want to tell you about Toys on Tap. They're this group that they have a podcast where they talk about toys, usually retro, sort of nostalgic toys, but they also make toys. I found out about them a couple of months ago because they made this really cool Casey Jones from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles encased in pizza cheese, kind of like Han Solo in Star Wars. But they also, this year for Halloween, are doing a Frankenstein toy, and it's super cool. And I think there's going to be like a, green skin, purple tux or, suit version coming out in the next few days, and then sometime in November, I think around when Guillermo del Toro's new movie comes out, there will be a black and white variant. So you should definitely try to track them down. They look really cool. I'm really excited to get my hands on one. Their website is toysontappodcast.com, and you can also just find them on Instagram at toysontap. Definitely check that out. It looks super cool. Take it away, Spooky Piano Man.
The hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you.
Hello, and welcome once again to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist, Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined this week by...
Tim Kirk.
Yes, so I think we kind of teased it last week that yes, Tim is back. We're still working with several guest hosts, keeping the seat warm while Eric is away for a little bit. And Tim reached out, and I was super excited to get you back just to chat. It's always fun having you on. So I'm really excited, and I sent you a list, and we picked a couple movies, and I'm really, really excited to talk to you about them. So this week we're going to be talking about the John Landis directed Burke and Hare from 2010.
Well, I feel honored to be in Eric's seat today, so I'm lucky to jump in here and talk about this film.
So yeah, I did not know about, in fact, I knew that there was a Burke and Hare movie. I knew there was one from the 70s, and then I stumbled across this, and I was like, I didn't realize that John Landis had been doing much in a while. It seemed like he kind of just, sort of disappeared sort of quietly. I know there's some controversy around some earlier films that he made, but yeah, it was interesting seeing that he made this with a lot of actors that were from a lot of actors that are still around doing stuff now. Simon Pegg and Tim Curry. There's a lot of big names in this. It's interesting that that Landis is. I mean, I guess, once you got your foot in the door in Hollywood, maybe you've always got a chance to make another movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that he was quietly going away. I think he was trying very hard to work for all those years. And I think he just couldn't get into. He made one film, I guess, called Susan's Pain or something like that in 2003. And then nothing until that film, and then he hasn't made a film since. So, the backstory with his
the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. So but I never heard of this thing at all. I was really surprised.
Yeah, and beyond the Landis stuff, like I said, there's a bunch of pretty big name actors that are still popular and doing things and stuff. So it's just surprising that not a lot of attention getting to this.
Yeah.
But I know you said you had a story. Do you want to get into the movie, or do you want to share your story?
Sure, sure. Yeah, it's a quick story. It's just that right, I guess 2 years before this film was, well, 2 years after this film was made, so it was 2012. I had a film that was screening at in London, so it was just right around where this film was made, and it was shown in a film festival at in London, and it was called Room 237, and Landis came to see it, and at the Q&A, he put his hand up right away. He was the first person to want to jump up and talk about it. And so there goes, producer Tim Kirk's going to do some Q&A here. And, John Landis. And so he jumps up, and his first thing he says is, so what the fuck are you thinking you're doing? And so, so I don't know if you've seen the film.
Yes.
And the film was made out of almost 90% out of footage from The Shining.
Yeah.
And at that point, we were still working with Warner Brothers about the footage, and we were doing it out of fair play. We weren't paying them any money, and so it was still a little effy if they were going to try and sue us about this. So it was a little. I was not happy that he was yelling. I'm never happy if anybody's yelling at me, especially in a big room with a lot of people, and especially if it's like somebody I would like his films.
Yeah.
But also, it was a little edgy that possibly they were going to sue us. So he yells at me for a while about this, and then finally I said, "Hey, John, could I ask you a question?" and he was like, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "So in the film, so we had actually used a clip from his film, from one of his films in it," and I said, "So, the clip that we used from you, would you call that fair use? Would you, And he said, "Well, yeah, but that's not the case." And then he went back into yelling at me for a while. But the end of the story here really is that, to our viewers here, you can go on Amazon right now and get a Blu-ray or a DVD or stream a Room 237 at any time, and so basically, I won and John lost. So the funny thing is that when I came out of there, I was talking to some friends in the next day or two, and almost every one of them was like, Tim, everyone has a story about John like this. It's like he's just an asshole. He just he yells at everybody. I mean, he's so mean to everybody. So I guess that's just John. He's a really tough guy like that. I mean, he just really goes at people. So something to know, and maybe that's what's going on. So I was thinking about that when I was watching the film. So this isn't just me yelling back at him. Is watching the film, I was thinking, wow, I wonder what it was like on the set. I wonder if I'm sure he's not always yelling, but I imagine there is a fair amount of yelling and a fair amount of, like, at least poking at people a lot,
Mm-hmm. It's so strange. Like, he has, his work is, I would say, generally, like, most of it is sort of, like, playful and, like, there's a lot of, like, fun to a lot of the stuff he did was comedies, and even the stuff that's not comedies is still sort of, like, it's not dour, it's not angry, it's not, like, really serious. So it seems strange that he would be drawn to that kind of material if he is sort of like a combative person by nature. But Yeah, I don't know. I guess.
I don't know either. I mean, I was thinking about the characters. The film is very broad. As we're going, maybe we could just talk about this. But it's a very broad. It's broad comedy. It's a lot of gross comedy. I don't know where this maybe fits with his sense of humor.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want, we can get into it and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say it was in my head the whole time. You know.
I'm sure. Yeah, it's funny that kind of thing will really like when I was in 6th grade, so many years ago, my teacher told our class a story that she was a waitress on Martha's Vineyard when she was like I guess in college, and she told us that she waited a table with Dan Aykroyd, and she was like, he was the rudest guy. He was so unkind to all the staff at the restaurant. And that has stuck with me since 6th grade, where like I am every time Dan Aykroyd's in a movie, maybe he just had one bad day. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like it's hard for me to like connect with the characters he plays because I always have that one little story from my 6th grade teacher in the back of my mind. So yeah, it's just, you know, when you have that real experience, I mean, and of course that wasn't even my experience. It was a story. But yeah, it's hard to not let that like color the way that you view people.
True. Yeah, and I don't know, and maybe it is just coloring your one person's experience, but it can be something where we could actually learn something from it. We'll see. Let's see as we go. Anyway, an interesting movie. Yeah. So good. Yeah.
Yeah. We start with like a bagpipe music over the credits, and we get like a little, text over the screen that says, "This is a true story, except for the parts that are not." So, already kind of like playing with the, obviously we know Burke and Hare really existed. I was kind of surprised when I finished this movie. There were a couple things that I was like, wait, did that really happen? And I looked it up, and there's more true stuff in here than I expected. I mean, there's still some obviously they took a lot of liberties. But yeah, we can talk about that as we get to the end. But the whole like playing with whether a story is true or not is definitely something that movies do a lot. But I thought for a comedy, it's kind of like really setting the tone that like, we're gonna get away with some stuff here that may or may not have really happened.
Yeah.
And I did think it was kind of an interesting, like when it started, you have like a voiceover from a narrator who's talking about like the Scottish Enlightenment, and that like, he was like, it's people call it Enlightenment, but it's still a pretty, filthy rundown place. And like we're seeing like this kind of like muddy, like crowded city streets and everything. And he talks about like, the medical establishment is really blooming in Edinburgh. There's like, two sort of competing schools run by like very like cult of personality kind of professors that have very differing views on how to do science. All of this is true, by the way. So we have Barclay School of Anatomy run by Dr. Robert Knox, who's played by Tom Wilkinson. And then we have the Royal College of Surgeons run by Professor Alexander Monroe, played by Tim Curry.
Right.
And we get a little bit from both of them, kind of like setting the stage at how they're different, which I really like. I like well, I guess what I was getting at is that like it's interesting that the narrator of this is sort of not a character in the movie. Like we see him at the beginning, we see him at the end. We'll get a little gag here where we find out he's like a hangman. He's an executioner. But I thought that was kind of a fun way to get us into the story.
Yeah, it was interesting, and it was really cool to see Tim Curry, and that was I think that's probably his last film for a while, because he had his stroke I think a year afterwards. So that was really nice to see him walking around and acting physically, and he was really great, I thought, too.
Yeah, he's not in a lot of this. He's kind of a minor character, but like every scene with him he really steals the show. He's a lot of fun, and like you said, like in recent years Tim Curry's not been in the greatest health, so it was nice to see sort of recent but still very healthy Tim Curry.
Yeah
In fact, the scene with him here at the beginning is great. Like he's, doing a surgery in front of like a lecture hall. He's just sawing into a guy's leg who's just like screaming in agony. He's not under any kind of anesthesia. There's arterial blood spray going everywhere, and he's like, "Yep, that's an artery," and just like kind of keeps sawing at it. Tom Wilkinson's sort of introduction is we just kind of find out he's sort of like. He got a new corpse, sort of setting the stage for that. That's how, the advancements in medical science are happening. Is, the sort of sketchy acquirement of cadavers, and then we go right to the hangman doing his job, hanging this woman, and this is how they, how doctors are getting their cadavers is primarily through executions.
Right. And then we meet is that when we meet our two leads there?
Yeah. Like, I think the executioner says, like, there's a law has changed, and so now Monroe has all the access to the cadavers, so it's going to make it hard for Knox, and when, the supply and demand gets out of whack, people step in, and then we meet Burke and Hare, Simon Pegg, and Andy Serkis.
Yeah.
In a rare, like, non-CGI role for Andy Serkis. Like, we don't, now we just think of him as, like, Gollum and the Caesar and Planet of the Apes and stuff. Yeah. But, like, we just have him here on camera. And they're just hucksters. Like, right away, they're, like, selling a cure-all and, just kind of scamming the crowd. And then, like, quickly things turn. People are like, this isn't even... They say it's moss from Ireland, right? And they're like, no, this isn't moss. This is... cheesecloth or something. It's just something else altogether, and they get like chased out of town, basically.
Yeah.
And I was surprised. I mean, Simon Pegg, he does comedy. He's great in comedy all the time. But Andy Serkis, he's really good in this comedic role too. Like they have good chemistry, bouncing off each other. Which I mean, a movie about these two guys, we got to have actors that work well together, and they do great.
He was Serkis was. He was really good with the physical comedy. I mean, he was really good, I thought. I mean,
which I guess that makes sense because of all the CGI stuff he does. He's very, like, body present in the way that he acts. Like, a lot of what he's doing is about the physicality and everything.
True.
So, we see the first instance of Knox realizing that, like, we got to come up with something better. He's getting ready to do his sort of surgery in front of a class, and he pulls a sheet off of his cadaver, and he's like talking really like grandiose, like, the anatomy is the way to like know the mind of God and behold the beauty of creation and all this, and he pulls the sheet off, and it's just this horribly rotting corpse with like maggots falling out of its eyes and mouth and everything, just completely. It's broad comedy. It's completely subverting the expectations of everybody in the. In the audience there. I think we get, like, Knox talking to his assistant, where he's like, what you really need is, like, a horrible disaster that will kill off a lot of people. Wouldn't that just be great? Like, they're just really, like, dreaming that it'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
Have an influx of corpses.
Yeah.
The start of this movie is definitely, like, setting the stage for, like, there is this need, and then there's also these guys who are in need of work, in need of finding something that can get them money. We get a scene with them where they're talking about, like, Hare. So they're both named William. Burke is Simon Pegg. Hare is Andy Serkis. And, they have money troubles. Hare is, like, Lucky, which is his wife, is going to be mad that, like, we didn't really make any money today, or it's going to be tough. Hopefully... We do have a couple boarders. Hopefully, rent day will get us through until the next time we can make some money, because it's gonna be rough. And then they get home and find out that one of the two boarders, old Donald, has died. So he did not pay his rent, and that's gonna be a problem.
So that's when they think, well, and then do they immediately think, oh, well, we can take them to as a cadaver? Is that where they?
Well. At first, they stuff him in a barrel and they're like rolling him around town because they're just trying to get rid of the body.
That's a very funny bit. Running.
Yeah. There's a great bit. Like, I think the best. So they're just rolling this barrel around trying to figure out how to get rid of it, and then they do come upon the idea like, oh, we could sell this. This could help. And then as soon as they decide we want this body, the barrel rolls away, and now they're chasing a barrel all through town. It's going down hills, and like it launches into the air and smashes through a store window. A lot of physical gags here. But yeah, they eventually get it to Knox, and Knox is very happy. It's a very fresh corpse, even though they folded it in half backwards to stuff him into the barrel. So they're like, oh, he died in a construction accident. You can see, and he's like, Knox doesn't care. He just wants the corpse. And Knox even they do a bunch of haggling, but eventually Knox is like, I will give you £5 for every fresh corpse you can find for me.
Right. But for a moment there, this is sort of the big moment of the movie, is that these guys are going to be grave robbers now, right? Mm-hmm. And in a moment, it seems like we need to take a moment and think about that. This is just the great setup of this movie. This is for the love of the grave robbers who have been setting up for all of our beloved Frankenstein films. They've been getting the cadavers to all these films,
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking back, I guess at the beginning we don't know in the book how he got his material.
Yeah, he says charnel houses, but there's never any specifics about how legal and where they're coming from and everything.
Right. In the film, he goes out with Fritz. Fritz, right?
Yeah.
And then the Hammers, I think it's back. I think it's generally Victor with a sidekick or something. Mm-hmm. But in general, there is some kind of grave robbing going on. But anyway, I just wanted to take a moment to just thank those great grave robbers for helping us have these great films.
Yeah. I mean, and again, this is the reality of the situation. Is at this time, medical science was so young, and it was so, they needed these bodies to figure out how the human body works.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said it on here before. My girlfriend is in medical school, and they still do this, but now it's all above board. It's all donated. People donate their bodies to science. In her first semester of med school, she slowly over the course of the semester took apart a real human body piece by piece with her little lab table, and they just, this week we're going to see what the muscles in the arms look like, and they just took apart an arm, and but how else do you figure out how this stuff works without seeing it, especially if you're going to be a surgeon or what, this is the only way to learn. And or in this sort of lawless time, it's a little bit wilder the way people are accessing this.
Or if you're going to create a monster.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, we have once they agree, okay, this is our new product, we're going to start digging up corpses. They go to a graveyard, they dig up a grave, and as soon as they open the coffin, they did no legwork, they didn't think about this at all. They just dug up the first coffin they saw, or this first grave they came upon, and it's a skeleton. This is completely useless for Knox. This is nothing. And as soon as they see the skeleton, a bunch of soldiers show up because they're trying to crack down on grave robbing. So we get this whole slapstick bit where they're trying to run away from the soldiers. The soldiers are all kind of inept. They're led by this kind of little diminutive captain who is he's really short, and you can tell he's sort of he's trying to make up for it and be very serious, but he's not very good at what he's doing. And yeah, so they're just I think they they bump into each other. Somebody gets knocked in a grave. I think somebody faints when they see the skeleton. They're bad soldiers.
Yeah.
But Burke does get shot in the process, buckshot or something. And so that I think we get a silly scene where they're in an alley, and Hare is trying to pull the buckshot from Burke's ass, and people walk by and see, and it looks they're up to something really weird in the alley. But they eventually get home to Miss Hare, who is She's like, I don't know what we're going to do. I think God is punishing us. First old Donald died, and now Joseph, our other boarder, it seems like he's dying. And, what are we going to do when we don't have any boarders to help us with the rent? So they go to check on Joseph, which is a wild cameo. I was not expecting to see Christopher Lee. Which again is probably one of the last roles from Christopher Lee, right?
Totally.
This would have been way after Star Wars. I don't know that he's Christopher Lee died a couple years ago though, right? But yeah, he obviously well up in years at this point.
Yeah.
This is an easy cameo. He's just laying in bed.
Yeah. I read somewhere that this was sort of a nod to the hammer part of it, and apparently where they were shooting at that time was also a studio where Hammer shot a lot. So I don't know if that was part of it.
Okay.
A lot of people put things together, but that could be it.
Yeah. Yeah, if they're and if they're shooting in London and they're like, we just need you for 2 hours on one afternoon, and you're going to be laying in bed. Maybe that was an easy ask.
But yeah, I couldn't believe it at first. I was like, oh, it could just be some old guy. But then I was like, no, it is. It's Christopher Lee.
Yeah. I did the same thing. I was like, it looks a lot like him. But and it's kind of nice, too, because so this character he's playing, Joseph, is a war veteran. And he's as he's sort of in his last days, he's sort of drifting away into his memories of the war. And we know this is Christopher Lee was a soldier, and I think he was even a spy. He has a crazy backstory, but it's kind of nice to have this this is probably how Christopher Lee felt near the end of his life, was remembering all of these wild times. I forget, I don't remember what movie it was on, but there's a story from him where somebody was doing a death scene, and they weren't doing it right, and Christopher Lee was like, I've seen what it looks like when the light leaves a guy's eyes. I've been there, and let me help you with that a little bit. And it's
whoa,
wow. Of course, Burke and Hare are this is a chance. This guy's already dying. It's easier than digging up a grave. Let's just speed the process up a little bit. It's not really murder, because he's gonna go. We just need the money a little sooner. So they suffocate him. We kind of skip them getting this one across town and selling it. We just assume that happened, and they're just suddenly going to this really lively pub with dancing girls and stuff. They're celebrating their sort of second big sale.
That's probably the funniest bit in the whole film, I think, was the bouncer, and they're going down and they're trying to get in line. The bouncer is there, and he says, yeah, I'm on the line. I'm William Wordsworth. He saw the whole bit, right? Yeah. Sure, I'm a big fan. All this just killed me. It was so
yeah, definitely very this is it's played up like it would be nowadays if somebody showed up at a dance club and was I'm Jay-Z or whatever. But of course back then there's no the photographs. You wouldn't immediately know this is obviously not William Wordsworth. So,
and the guy said, bouncer, I'm a big fan of your daffodil poem. Was this giant bouncer, and then they had and then they had a later when he's coming out, the actual Wordsworth's there, and he goes, I'm Wordsworth. This is Samuel Cornwell here, and then the guy goes, oh yeah, and I'm fucking Robbie Burns. One of the better lines in the movie.
Yeah, that little just sort of joke and then payoff in the, in a scene or two later was really good.
Really good. Yeah, there's some really funny lines in there.
Yeah, but so while they are in the pub, we see this group of dancing girls. They're having a great time. Keeping things lively, and then they take a break. They're all sitting down having drinks, and the main girl her name is Jenny. She's played by Isla Fisher, and she wants to put on the first all-female Shakespearean production of Macbeth. And the other girls are like, yeah, that'd be cool, but like we can't do that. Like we don't have the money. Nobody's gonna, we're not gonna get any patrons of the art to give a couple dancing girls the money to put on a Shakespeare production. And like they're all like, well, we're not, like they say we're not going to go back on the game, which I assume to mean like we're not going to become sex workers again. Like that we had our past in prostitution, but we've moved up. We're dancing girls. It's a little classier, and we're not going back. So we got to figure out some other way to get the money.
And that's when Burke shows up.
And it's like a love at first sight thing, because Jenny gets up on a table to like recite some Shakespeare to show that she's got the chops. She can do this. And yeah, we get like, sort of like soft focus lens of her doing, orating this Shakespearean monologue, while Burke is just like, in awe of her. But the rest of the crowd is like, what are you doing? Like, you're supposed to be dancing. Shut up. We don't care about this high art or whatever. We cut from the dance club to sort of at the same time, there's like a meeting of all the physicians in Edinburgh. I'm not sure what this location is supposed to be. It's just like this, marble hall, this very grand place, but it's not either of the two hospitals because it's like neutral territory. We have Knox and Monroe and a bunch of other doctors all kind of gathering together. Knox and Monroe, they hate each other. They're talking, like, I think he says something about like, are your students enjoying your lectures? And he's like, not as much as they're enjoying your wife. And, just, again, sort of modern sort of stuff put into this in a way that kind of like, makes for broad comedy.
Right.
The result of this is that we find out the king is coming soon. He's interested in this sort of enlightenment in Scotland, and especially the medical profession. And he wants like a competition. He wants all the doctors in Edinburgh to like put forth their best project, whatever they're working on. He wants presentations, and somebody's going to get a big cash prize, and prestige will become like the royally recognized doctor of Edinburgh. Obviously there's a lot of doctors there, but we know this is a face-off between Knox and Monroe.
Right. I was a little bored during that sequence, I have to tell you, and I was kind of taking a look at the costumes, which were really pretty good throughout the whole thing. So I was looking it up, and I wasn't surprised. It's Deborah, it's Nadelman, and that's actually Landis's wife.
Okay.
And she does all his films, but she's really an accomplished woman. She did Raiders of the Lost Ark and a couple other things. And I have a friend who's worked with her, not on as a costumier, but on some other project. And he was really impressed with her. He was like, thought she was a really, really, really strong, interesting woman. So anyway, I can't imagine what that life would be like being married to John Landis. But anyway, yeah. She obviously really did some really interesting films. But anyway, if you watch this film, I thought the costuming was really, really great.
Yeah, with this being a period piece, like anything that's like kind of anachronistic can really take you out of it. Or I think having the sort of anachronistic language and the jokes about like the dance club and stuff, if the set and the costumes didn't nail the time period, those jokes wouldn't land as well. Like you need that contrast, and I think all of the setting and all the costumes especially, like they feel very accurate, and like here you have all these doctors and they're in like very nice clothes. Meanwhile, we have Burke and Hare, and their clothes are kind of dirty and beat up and disheveled, and it all works really well. Yeah,
if you have like broad modern comedy, you need to anchor it with something else, and I think she did it. So that was really impressive.
Yeah, we go from that back to the pub where like Burke is now talking to Jenny, and they're both sort of doing that thing where like you're trying to put your best foot forward and you're not being totally honest about your situation. So Burke thinks Jenny is a very accomplished actress, and Jenny thinks Burke is a very successful, I think he says he like sells medical supplies.
Right.
So she's thinking, oh, I bet he could be my patron for my production. And he's just like, bowled over by, her beauty and her talent, and is just like, I'm in love with this woman, and maybe I can, we don't get just yet that he like actually does want to try to be her patron, but like I think this is definitely setting the stage for him considering like that's a way that I could get in her good graces and kind of be a reason to be around her all the time.
Yeah, and I think he doesn't. I think there's a bit there where she asks him something about, or she's trying to understand Macbeth a bit, and he really understands Macbeth, I think, and that's a way that they kind of figure each other out a bit. And I thought that was kind of a cool bit.
Yeah, we have this where like they're kind of talking sort of broadly about Shakespeare and Macbeth and stuff, and then later, like when the production is really going on, we get this really great moment that. We'll get to it here shortly, but like, I think choosing Macbeth here, this is one of the things that is not true as far as I know from what I was looking up. I think Burke was actually married in real life during this time period. But choosing Macbeth, it's intentional. There's a lot of parallels as it goes. As the production starts kicking off, those things will become more pertinent to the story. But we go back to Knox, he starts talking about his plan, which is that he wants to create an accurate map of everything inside the human body, and everyone's like, you can't do, like, it has to be perfect. If even one thing is wrong, it's completely useless. Like, it has to be, dead on. And he has this idea, which is that he has brought in this Frenchman. We don't get his name until the very end, but this is a real person who is, his name is Joseph Nicephore Niepce, I believe is how it's pronounced. He is the father of photography. And in fact, there's a little gag here where he's like, I call it heliography. And Knox is like, I think you could do better than that. And this is true. He really called it heliography, and then it later became known as photography. But he came up with this idea of the plates and the light refraction and all that. And so we see him doing that. He's taking pictures of opened up corpses. This is how he and Knox are going to work together. And they're, what's better than a photograph? You're not hand drawing a map of the inside of the body. You're documenting what's really there. So yeah, we have that, and of course this means now we know Knox really needs bodies. He was just needing them for his lectures or for showing students, but now he's got a project, and he's going to need a lot of bodies so that he can continue to photograph them and perfect this whole process. Which, of course, takes us back to Burke and Hare, who are like, we gotta keep doing this. We gotta find more options. And Hare is like, well, so I thought about it. What we need to do is just kill people. And yeah, Burke's like, no. Joseph, yeah, we killed him, but like he was going. So that's one thing. But like, I don't want to just kill people. And Hare's like, I mean, we're all dying, right? Like, we're all going to go sometime. Like, we might just, up the date a little bit, but it's fine. Like, and at first Burke is very resistant to it, but of course Hare has the ace in the hole where he's like, you're gonna need money if you're gonna try to woo Miss Jenny. Like, you're broke, and she certainly expects a level of class that you have implied that you have, and you don't. So I don't know any other way to do it than kill people. So that kind of sways Burke. He's like, all right, let's go to like sketchy parts of town. We can get like drunks and so. Yeah, okay, fine. Which leads right to their first attempt, which like, again, because it's a broad comedy, every time they try a new plan, the first time it goes real bad. So they shove a drunk guy down a flight of stairs, and he just like rolls. And this is also sort of true that like drunk people tend to not get injured because they just like don't tense up at the moment.
Right.
And, like that. So yeah, he just flips down the stairs and just stands up and walks it off, and he's fine. And they're like, okay, next time maybe a knife.
Yeah. Now that's where I think is like John Landis probably being good as I bet it was his idea to have the guy singing during that. I bet that was his idea, and that was a really good idea. It was a really funny idea, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, now it's me being kind to John. So I've done it. I can get back to hating it. But that was a really funny bit, I thought, when he got down the stairs and then he jumped back up and started laughing and dancing again. Very funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he sings like Danny Boy or something. You know, like there's a lot of like sort of classic like old Irish and Scottish, culture in this, which makes it again feel very lived in and real.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they're using a lot of actors that have been used a lot in that area. So
yeah. We then have like another failed attempt, like a kind of rule of threes kind of comedy thing where they try to like. I think with the plan, it goes so badly that I'm not even sure what their plan actually was, but they cut down a tree that they want to like drop across like a road and block a carriage.
Yeah.
I think maybe the idea is that they want the carriage to be forced to stop, and then they're going to just kind of like rush it and kill the people inside or something. But instead, like it falls at the very last minute, and the driver just kind of tries to swerve, and he ends up driving off a cliff into the ocean. So they kill a bunch of people that they cannot have because they're out in the ocean.
Yeah.
They finally try a simpler method, which is they just like sneak up on a guy in an alley with a sickle. But they don't even have to kill this guy because he, I guess, is not very healthy. And like as soon as he's scared by these guys, he has a heart attack and collapses, which we cut right to Knox doing his, autopsy and is like, this man died as a result of gluttony, not as a result of foul play from, two hucksters trying to, get some money.
Yeah.
So then we have like Hare going home, and Lucky is like fixing his favorite meal, and he's like, what's going on? Like you can tell right away that he's like, you're acting weird, and I'm suspicious. I'm afraid I'm in trouble here. And she admits that she knows what he's up to, but she's cool with it. Like she's basically like, yeah, I think this is great. We're going to be thriving. This is a great infinite resource. Our money problems are over, but I want to cut. I know I'm your wife and we share our finances, but I want a little side money just for me and just to show that we're loyal to each other in this project. So he agrees. He says, your name's Lucky, but I feel like I'm the lucky one because things just work so well together with us.
That's a big change in the moment, her character change there.
Yeah, I don't remember this actress's name, but she's in a lot of comedy stuff too, and she's usually really great and stuff. I feel like she's been in stuff with Simon Pegg in the past.
Really?
She's really good in this. Like, we had like we kind of glossed over it, but like she's dealt with alcoholism and she had been on, sober for a while, and then as they were having money trouble, so we have this whole arc of her like becoming a drunk, and then like when she finds out that things are going to be okay, she's like comes out of it and is like ready to be engaged in the project. So it's it's nice that we kind of get this little arc from her.
Yeah,
we go from their sort of relationship to Burke, trying to kind of get his relationship going with Jenny. This is where I think he does tell her he's going to finance the play. We also get the first instance of like the organized crime in the town noticing that like Burke and Hare suddenly have money. What's up with that? We need to investigate this. We have like a kind of like a mob boss named McTavish, and he has like a sort of main henchman that's the one who's noticing and is like, I'm gonna dig into this. While Burke is talking to Jenny, I think the Hares both show up and they're like, it's time to get to work. We got things to do. And then just coincidentally, the waitress is like, brings them drinks and is like, I need to go check on this lady over here at this table. She's a widow. Her whole family died. And so she has no money now. And I think she's going to end up out on the street. And so we're just trying to take care of her tonight. And they're like, oh, someone with no familial ties who's suffering. And, interesting, so we have like I think we see them like out in, they follow her out in the street after, later on that night, and they kill her. And it's one of those things where they think she's dead and she's not. And she pops up and is fighting back, and again, broad comedy kind of stuff. And another sort of true bit that is funny here, especially my understanding of like the reality is Burke and Hare were just fully on board. They were both working together, and that was it. But this movie definitely portrays Hare as being like the one who's gung-ho about it, and Burke sort of being reluctantly dragged along. So like as they're suffocating this lady, Hare is like, this is the way that they put soldiers out of their misery when they're injured on the battlefield. So it's a humane way to end this lady's life. And Burke's like, oh, what do they call that? And he's like, I don't think they ever gave it a name, but in honor of you, my esteemed colleague and friend, maybe we should call it Burking. Which is true. People, this sort of suffocation where it's just like you cover somebody's nose and mouth and kind of put pressure on their chest so that they can't take a breath is referred to as Burking.
Actually, it is, really. Wow.
Yeah. But it's funny in the context of this movie where like Burke ends up the one getting, it named after him when he's like not okay with it. So I thought that was a pretty good gag.
That is a good gag.
At this point, like things are all kind of in motion. They've got a good thing going. They're selling bodies. Jenny is she now has her finances, so she's starting the play. We have like I think auditions, and they're not going great. And I think Burke is like, you should not just be directing this. Like I saw you in the pub on the table. Like you can do this. You can be Macbeth.
Right.
I think that is the point where Jenny is like, I'm just having trouble finding the motivation. Like, why does Macbeth do what he does? Like, he seems like, at the beginning, he's just a good guy, and then suddenly he's a killer, and like, I don't understand how to like get there as an actor. And that's where Burke's like, it's for love. Like, people do things they wouldn't otherwise do when it's for love.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Obviously, the parallel being Jenny doesn't know this, but Burke is killing people for Jenny's love. So he understands the motivation that Macbeth would be, would have in this story.
Right. So that's the moment.
And we also have, I think, around the same time, McTavish kidnaps Burke and Hare both and is like, all right, so we need to talk. I know you guys were getting money. I kind of looked into it. I see your operation. It's working. I don't want to stop what you're doing. I think it's great. But I run all the crime in town. You didn't run this by me. But I'm going to let that slide if you start giving me a cut of what you're doing. Basically, again, sort of gag of like this time period and like the future is that like, basically, he's inventing the idea of a protection racket here. And I think Burke even says, like, oh, we're paying you for protection. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's a good name for it. I like that. I might use that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
But basically, he's like, yeah, I want half of your proceeds from this. Or I can kill you, whichever you want. Whichever of those options you like, we'll go with that. And so they're like, all right, sure, we'll pay you half. This is when, like, Knox starts showing off to the whatever medical council. I don't know what they ever call this thing, but he's showing off his first photographs, and they're impressed, but they're like, this is just a chest cavity. You said you were going to do the whole body. And he's like, yeah, we've been working out the bugs. We've got it all figured out now, and now we're going to be able to just really buckle down. And I know we got 3 weeks left, but I think we can finish in time. I think as he's leaving, Monroe's like, having trouble finding specimens for your little project? And Knox is like, yeah, your whole law has really made it hard on me, but you can't get in the way of progress. I've got this under control. So, he of course reaches out to Burke and Hare and is like, I need more. I need them faster. They're like, do you know what we're doing though? I mean, like that's going to be a lot of attention on us. And he's like, Edinburgh is a dangerous place. I don't care where they're coming from, how they're getting here. But it's pretty explicit here that he's like, I know you're murdering people, and I don't care because it's for the betterment of science. This is definitely the Frankensteiniest moment in this, where he's like, yeah, by any means necessary, if it achieves my scientific goals, it's worth it.
Yeah, definitely. It's a kind of more of a hammer kind of moment, too.
Yeah. It definitely does feel like the Peter Cushing version of Victor Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Like, sees himself as above the law and above morality, and just like, there's a certain darkness to that version of Frankenstein that we didn't have in the novel or in the universal Henry Frankenstein character.
Yeah, definitely.
We're sort of like rushing towards the ending at this point. Like we have like, they're trying everything. They get like, they start renting out the room again and just killing the boarders as soon as they come in.
That's hilarious.
Lucky's even helping now. Like they try to kill this guy who's strong, and he's like, he ends up having both Burke and Hare in like chokeholds pressed against the wall, and then Lucky sneaks up behind him and bashes him in the head with a shovel.
Yeah.
And we also see that like victims' family members are starting to pop up and talk to the police. They're, we're getting sketch artists drawing sketches of some of these missing people, which I think Burke sees, and he goes to tell Hare, and he's like, it's closing in. Like we're gonna have to be careful. Like the cops are after us at this point.
Yeah.
But Hare's like, it's okay because Lucky had an idea, and I think it's great. I think we've got a way to continue what we're doing, but also go legit at the same time. So here's what we're thinking. Funeral parlor. So people will pay us to get rid of their dead bodies, and then we'll sell the bodies. So we're getting paid in both directions. It's going to be great. Then we'll just bury empty coffins. No one will be the wiser. It's foolproof. Like this is genius.
It's such a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's certainly not it's very morally gray at best, but yeah, considering what they're currently doing, it's an improvement for everybody.
Well, there was a big problem here in L.A. not too long ago where a guy was taking the money in a mortuary. He was making the money and then just not burying the bodies. So it's very similar to what we're talking about here. He wasn't giving it to people to deal with, but he was just saying, "Oh yeah, I'll deal with it," and he was just burning it and throwing it in the pile. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, people change over time, but not as much as we'd like to hope, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Certain rackets are always, and I guess that's again what kind of makes this movie work so well, is that like we're playing with the past and using some present stuff in there, and it kind of, I think that might be a little bit of the thesis of this, is like we haven't moved forward as much as we'd like to think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
To the point, I think like the next scene is McTavish again. Like he's got a carriage, but it's sort of like the mob boss in the limo kind of thing, where he pulls up and is like, "All right, get in, we got to talk." They're like, "We're going legit, we're done," and he's like, "Nah, I want the money that's coming from this. So no, you're not getting out of the game." We get this kind of great moment, like unspoken moment, where like Hare looks over at McTavish's like main, I forget his name. I wrote it down somewhere here, but like his sort of main henchman, and they both kind of just like exchange a glance, and then we just cut to Knox doing an autopsy on McTavish. So like no words are said. They just all kind of realize like McTavish is going to be a constant problem to all of us. Maybe this is the solution. We just kill him, we sell his body, and now, okay, you can be the new crime boss. We don't care. We're going to do our own thing. Problem solved for all of us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was a pretty good gag.
That was a good moment.
But the problem here is this is what sort of gets the eyes of the law to really come down on Burke and Hare. Because McTavish is sort of, famous. He's known around town as like a guy you don't mess with. And so like the students are like, is Professor Knox, is that McTavish? Is he cutting up McTavish? How did that happen?
Yeah.
So like, the rumors get to the guards who come check in with Knox, and Knox is like, I don't know, I just found the corpse in the alley. Seemed like a free corpse. So we're doing our thing. And the captain's like, I think you know where this came from, and I'm going to start going to higher-ups about it. I'll stake my job on the fact that you are corrupt in this. And Knox is like, I think you just did stake your job on it. We'll see who wins this. Like, this is a contest of wills here. Like, who has the most influence in town? And then we go from that to the opening night of the Macbeth performance. And we kind of, every time that we've had a scene with Burke and Jenny, it's been interesting. Like, Burke is definitely head over heels for Jenny, and Jenny is very, she seems like she genuinely likes Burke. Like, she's not taking advantage of him for money, but I don't know if she's just like shy or slow to like fall in love or just doesn't feel that kind of affection for him. But like, there's a running gag where he keeps trying to like kiss her, and she'll kind of like duck out of the way, and we get like another one of those where like he's giving her flowers before she like goes out and does the performance. And I think this is the last time that like she kind of blocks him. And then we have like sort of a montage of like bits of the play and soldiers, continuing their investigation. They end up, they break into Knox's sort of like workshop where they find all of the photographs and tons of specimens and just body parts laying around. I think we have one of the soldiers again faints because, they're all kind of inept. And this, and we go back to the play ending. Burke is like genuinely moved at how great Jenny is in her performance, and like goes to talk to her afterwards. And it almost seems like he's kind of like that last time that she didn't kiss him. He was like, okay, I get it. You're not into me. And he just comes out and he's like, you did great. Congratulations. It's amazing. And she's like, you're saying all these nice things, but you seem kind of sad. And he's like, well, I realize you don't need me anymore. Like you're a success. It's all over with, and you're gonna be done with me. And she's like, I mean, I don't need you, but like I still want you in my life. Like I still care about you. And so she finally kisses him here. So it's like,
yeah,
it just took her some time, I guess.
Yeah. Or she wanted to be in a moment where she was free of him and didn't have to have that. She could have it by on her own. And I thought that's what she wanted to be, and I thought that was a good moment.
I think so. I mean, like we mentioned earlier, like they kind of imply that at one point that she, was like engaged in prostitution or something.
Yeah.
So I feel like that could be the case where she's just like, I don't want it to feel like that again. I don't want to feel like I am giving over any sort of like romantic or sexual favors for this money or for this patronage. So yeah, that kind of rings true. And it also, I mean, I think the fact that she spends this whole time and knows Burke is interested and that Burke does not push the issue too hard, I think that probably speaks to her that like he's a good guy. He's not going to be like, well, I've given you all this money, I feel like you owe me something.
Right.
He is very respectful. There was a really brief scene earlier where like she, as actors do, she's got to change really quick, like backstage, and he's in there talking to her, and like she goes behind, goes behind a little screen thing, and there's like, he has a couple opportunities to like get to see her undressing, and he chooses not to.
Yeah,
he, like,
that's true.
Looks away, and he's talking to, but like, it feels like he's very respectful of her wishes and her desires, and I think that it pays off in the end, where she's like, she sees that, and that like speaks to her about his character.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, it's very clear that he's interested in her and wants to be part of her life, but he was very kind, and it all works out. And yeah, that was a very good moment in the scene.
Yeah. And I like that we got to have it, because she's like, so, I would like for us to be together, like, in an emphasis way where it's like, she means like, it's time that we have sex. And he's like tonight? And she's like, tonight's after party, we're celebrating, it's the whole play thing. I'm going to be a star tonight and shine, but tomorrow night. So he's got that to look forward to. And we have like more scenes of the soldiers interrogating the photographer, and he's like, I just photographed the bodies for Professor Knox, and then they go to talk to Knox again, and they find out he's headed to the presentation. That's today. So again, everything's kind of coming together at the last moment. We have Burke talking to Hare that like, tonight's going to be the night. I think things are going to, go well with Jenny, and then we can move forward into this new version of our lives where we go legit, and Jenny's a successful actress, and everything's going to be great. Then we see that like the presentation, we have Monroe coming out. He has done his, and his seems to be he's got like a foot in a jar or something.
Yeah, I know. It looks so boring compared to his other stuff.
Yeah, and we have like a cameo here from Stephen Merchant, which I thought was funny. Like, you know, a sort of more modern, like British comedian, you know, famous for like working with Ricky Gervais and stuff. And he's just like, he's kind of the footman to Monroe. He's like carrying the jar on it, but it's an actual foot. And yeah, but like it's kind of implied that like the king maybe fell asleep during Monroe's presentation. It was just dull.
That's gotta hurt.
Yeah. So now it's time for Knox. He goes in, but he's getting ready to go in, but the soldiers arrive and they're like, "Halt! In the name of the Solicitor General." But the Solicitor General's the guy escorting Knox in, and he's like, "In my name? What's going on? I'm not aware of any reason you should be here." And so they kind of lay it out all on the table, like he's, you know, we're accusing him of murder. There's been all these murders in town, and you know, you're making a mockery of the medical profession. And Knox is like, "No, you're making a mockery of the medical profession by, you know, tarnishing my reputation here in front of the king and all this." And Knox tries to go in to like present to the king anyway. We're cut away to like Knox Burke setting up his date with Jenny. He's like, you know, trying to make his house look nice, lighting candles, doing the whole thing for like a little romantic date night. And like, I think she comes over and like we kind of basically they are getting ready to have sex. It's the time, and that's when the soldiers burst in, and Burke is like, "Fucking hell!" Like, I've spent this whole movie trying to get to this moment, and then you the
intercutting. We were like, "Is he going to make it in time? Is he going to?" No, he doesn't.
Yeah, and then we see that the Hares, meanwhile, who once they sort of teamed up and like we're on the same page, we had a couple moments where we saw sex scenes with them where they're like discussing business in the middle of sex. Like, it turns Lucky on that they're not poor anymore, so she's like wanting to talk about plans, and you know, Hare is like, "Whatever works for you, baby."
Yeah.
So they're mid sex,
midst of talking about killing while they're bawling.
Yeah. So we have like we just cut to Burke and Hare in a jail cell, and of course Burke is like, we should never have done this. I regret this. You know, it's led to this, and like Jenny got arrested in it. She's totally innocent, and soon she's gonna know everything we've done. She's gonna hate me. I think I need to just come clean and just confess everything, and you know, just like accept our responsibility in this. And of course Hare is like, "No, don't do that. Like, just let me do the talking. If you need to confess, go to mass after we're done." Like, we eventually find that like the townspeople have heard about this. They want to. It's like a lynch mob is forming. So again, sort of like this is how Frankenstein movies end, right?
Yeah.
Where people want to
Jenny
punish the.
I'm sorry. Jenny has the best line, though, in that when she's in jail, and she says that she's really worried about her, that the people are going to upset about her, that she's in jail now, and she says, "I can just see the headlines: Macbeth accused of murder."
Yeah,
that was good. But anyway, you're right. That now we have it's very much a Frankenstein scene suddenly, with the crowd is outside and like, we want Burke and Hare. They want to burn them to the stake or whatever they want to do. They want to kill them, basically.
Yeah, but we end up like the Solicitor General and some other sort of official that we've never really like gotten his name. They talk to the captain, and they're basically like, "This is going to tarnish like the entire medical community. It's going to tarnish the reputation of Edinburgh. It's going to affect like this one little murder case is going to ruin our town." And the captain's like, "Yeah, but there were murders. We have to prosecute. That's what we're here for." And they're like, "Yeah, of course. I mean, somebody's got to hang for this. There's been murders, but like, we got to figure out a way to do this and kind of keep it on the down low, basically. We just need a scapegoat and keep everybody else's names out of this. The captain and the solicitor go to talk to them, to Burke and Hare in jail, and we already have, we know Burke is feeling a lot of guilt and everything, so they pitch to Burke and Hare, if one of you confesses, all this goes away for everybody else. You all can just walk out. Nobody, we'll just say, this guy did it, nobody else knew anything, and just move on. And Burke is like, I'm going to do this. I can't live with the guilt, and I certainly can't let my friend and my lover, the woman I've fallen in love with, I can't make them suffer, especially Jenny, who didn't do anything wrong. So I'm gonna martyr myself. I'm gonna take all the blame. And Hare, at this point, Hare is like, okay, yeah. I was trying to stop you, but sure, okay, fine. If I'm off free, my wife's off free. You were a good friend. I hate to see you go, but as long as I'm okay, I guess I'll take it.
Yeah.
But Burke is like, there's one condition, and we immediately cut to Burke in a room by himself, and suddenly a guard escorts Jenny in and closes the door, and then slides the little panel, where the little barred window section is, covers that window up. So he's going to get a conjugal visit. So,
yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so we do have this very sweet moment where Jenny thinks that they're all innocent and that Burke is taking on the blame to protect all of them. And she's genuinely moved that Burke is doing this thing. That he's he starts to try to apologize for having done it, and then realizes where she's, what she thinks is going on, and he's like, okay, I'll take that. That works too.
Yeah.
So,
I missed that. Oh, that's cool. That's better. Yeah.
And we get a great little, in the classic kind of old style where, right before the sex happens, the camera will sometimes, pan to a window and we'll see the sun go down and come up or whatever. But here we see candles because, old-timey, and so we see the candles, burn down in, time lapse, and then when we pan back, they're just, in bed under a sheet, post-coital, which is, kind of sweet. And I think we cut straight from that to Burke on the gallows. It's time. He's the crowd's booing him. The bagpipe is playing Amazing Grace, and they read all his accusations. And we're back to our executioner from the beginning of the movie. He's back, and they're like, do you have any last words before your soul's consigned to hell? And he says, I did it for love, bringing it back to the Macbeth thing.
Right.
So we have him, they drop, he hangs, the crowd is cheering, they're excited, but Jenny is there in the crowd, and she's crying as he dies. And yeah, the hangman's like, yeah, he seemed like a nice guy, he made the ultimate sacrifice for love, he helped his friends, but, he did kill a bunch of people, and that's pretty evil. And as he's doing this, he's selling Burke's corpse and getting money and sticking in his pocket. So the wheels are still continuing. Things aren't changing that much.
Yeah.
And then we get this felt like, because Landis did Animal House, right?
He sure did.
And the Animal House, and then a lot of other 80s movies, the classic ending of those kind of things was where did all the characters go after the movie ended? What are they up to?
Right.
And we get that again here, where through the executioner, just kind of listing, it's Fergus. That's the name of McTavish's man. I wrote it down here.
There you go.
He continued his his protection racket until it basically he started selling insurance policies. So corrupt in a way that we're more familiar with, which was funny. Whereas Nicephore became a minor celebrity and inventor of photography, all very true. The one that I was like, no way is this true. So there's a character that's so minor, he doesn't have a line, he's never mentioned, he's just in a couple scenes with Monroe. So he's the real success story of this whole movie, this character that we've never acknowledged at all, Charles Darwin, and this is true. Charles Darwin worked under Monroe for a little bit.
Whoa.
Charles Darwin, he was very interested in science. He had had many degrees, but he was never a medical doctor. and it's because of Monroe. He trained under Monroe to become a doctor and was like, I hate this guy. He's so boring. He's making me hate medicine. I'm going to move on to something else. And like went and became Charles Darwin. So I thought that was hilarious and very true.
That is great.
Yeah. So, and then we have like, Jenny continued in acting. She wasn't super successful, but she was passionate about it. And Burke's corpse ended up on Monroe's autopsy table. Also true. Monroe actually did a public autopsy of Burke's body. And he wrote detailed notes of everything that he did. And those notes, like the first sentence of those notes are written in Burke's blood.
Oh.
The rest of it's in ink, but just the first sentence is blood.
No.
And then they bound that book in Burke's skin. And then they used Burke's skeleton, turned it into like, a medical display skeleton. And that skeleton is still to this day on display at the Edinburgh Medical History Museum. They've kept track of William Burke's skeleton all the way from then to today. We still have that specific skeleton, which is wild. And like the movie ends, like we see footage of present day. We see the skeleton. That's how the movie ends.
Yeah, there's a zoom in on the skeleton's face as the final shot, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it like it shows his name in front of the skeleton. Like this. What are they all up to now? This is what Burke's up to.
William Burke is right there. Yeah. And then there's a bunch of cameos in the film because they keep showing. They show a bunch of pictures of people, and then they have freeze frames. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And it's guys like Paul Whitehouse. I looked these guys up, and it's like Paul Whitehouse is like he was in a sketch comedy show, and now he's like a big pal of Johnny Depp. He's just some guy.
Okay.
And then Ray Harryhausen is there.
Yeah. I was blown away by that, and then I forgot about it. But yes, he's just like a doctor there, and
Harryhausen. And then Robert Paintner, who's this amazing cinematographer. He's just shot a bunch of stuff. Some for Landis, some for other people, and he died, I guess, a couple of months after shooting a bunch of right after this film. So good for him. But just these random people were in this film for some reason. But anyway, I'm glad they got there for one last moment.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Tim Curry and Christopher Lee being like the biggest of those, but it's interesting. Like John Landis, I mean, I think he seems to have like relationships with a lot of people in Hollywood. I mean, obviously the Twilight Zone thing that happened was because, like, I mean, he's friends with Steven Spielberg. He was, did a section of the movie for that, and so he definitely, like, as much as like there's a lot of weird stuff out there about him, like clearly some people like him, like that he was able to call in all these people to do these cameos, and like if he was universally hated, there's no way all these people would have been willing to like stake their reputations or whatever on like, my final film possibly is, with John Landis. So it's strange. He's just it's such a weird character.
Yeah, I would think that this has more to do with the English, the English. Yeah. My guess is that this was set up as a film to bring together a bunch of English character actors, because that's what it is. Plus we got two, we got Simon and Andy, Peg and Sarah. But other than that, it's just a bunch of really good character actors. And then they're like, well, let's get an interesting director. And they got Landis. I think that's it. I don't think he pulled anybody together. Now, maybe I'm angry, but but I think that's really the truth, because I don't think he pulls much of anybody. but maybe I'm wrong. But I think he did a pretty good job. I mean, I think it was some really funny stuff, especially the physical stuff. I thought was really funny. And he had those two guys really worked well together. I thought, didn't you? I thought they were really fun. Andy and
yeah, I think you're read there, man. You know, I know that when it comes to like the way that a movie comes together, there's so many ways that it can happen. You know, sometimes a director comes with a project and just needs money and just does it, and sometimes, you know, the studio has something and they bring in a journeyman director. And I think you might be right that like this thing may have been like a ball that was already rolling, and then they were like, who has like the chops for this kind of broad comedy? Who do we know who has done this thing before and done it well? And there's no denying. I mean, like if you think of Animal House and Blues Brothers and stuff, John Landis does this well.
Definitely does.
And yeah, maybe there's something, you know, like there's something to that style of comedy that's like, it's a little mean-spirited, and like maybe that's what makes it work. So maybe some of his personality defects or whatever are what make him good at doing this thing. You know, I know, like, you know, Chevy Chase is a comedian that pretty much everyone knows that like he's a terrible guy. Nobody seems to like him, but he's funny on screen.
Sure.
Like there's no denying that.
Yeah.
So maybe Landis is like that, but behind the camera.
Yeah.
He just has an instinct for like how to push the envelope in a way that is a little mean, but in a way that we can laugh at with the emotional distance of the sort of like wackiness or something.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder. I mean, I wonder. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into this, but I wonder if he was really thinking, well, now is my next step. I'm going to be working with English people now. I'm going to be doing another film, you know, with that didn't happen. I don't know how this film did, but that doesn't have to be his fault, obviously.
Yeah.
But there was some, it looks like, you know, I've seen these films before where they really try and go together, try and get a bunch of these sort of older character actors together, and that really seems to work. You know, where they get those together and they get somebody, and that really works with the English guys. And I don't know if that was what they were really trying to do. But anyway, I really liked the film. It was really fun, and I really loved the idea of just from that point of view of the grave robbers.
Yeah. This, whether or not it was like, you know, it may not have like jump started his, you know, Landis's career again or anything, but like, yeah, I would consider this a success. Like it's a great film. It's super fun. Yeah, I had a great time with it. I didn't know what to expect going into it, and yeah, it definitely had a good time.
The whole photograph thing has a really good payoff. It was a little long for me. I was sort of like, oh, come on, guys. I was just like, I knew what it was. I would have rather had, if there was going to be all this struggling, I would have had more of Tim Curry and less of Tom Wilkinson. But it was a great payoff. I didn't see it coming, but it was a lot of it for what it was. You know.
Yeah.
The Macbeth stuff was a bit much, but it was fun, and I really liked her. But the murder stuff was great, and it was broad. It was maybe a little too broad for my take, but still very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when they did bring out the zingers, they zing. They were really fun when they pulled it off.
Yeah. And like you said, like Simon Pegg and Andy Serkis, they really sell this movie. Like, yeah. I don't know that like the broad comedy may not have paid off so well if there were different actors in those roles. They really sold it.
They were likable too. They were so likable, and they seemed to like each other. Yeah, it worked. It worked. I really liked it.
Yeah.
But again, in your cadre of Frankenstein films, this is important because it's the grave robbers. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, the Burke and Hare stories were like it was already in the public consciousness. Like when Mary Shelley was writing Frankenstein, it was certainly something that she would have been at least somewhat aware of. Maybe not all of the specifics, but like the idea that the medical profession is doing this was definitely in the public consciousness, and certainly had to have had some impact on the way that Frankenstein was written.
I would think so, for sure. Geez,
Yeah.
it's part of why all this happened.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all I've got. Unless, do you have any final words? Or I know we just had you on not too long ago, but you're still sort of in the cycle of promoting your book.
Yeah.
How are things going with that?
It's great. We I've had a couple podcasts with you guys and some other spoken to some other people, a couple interviews, and they had a great book launch. It was really fun. It was at I decided not to go to a bookstore this time. I went to a martial arts history museum with a very and because it's got Elvis. Elvis is in my book. And so that was really great. So right in the middle of all these geese and all these other.
That's great.
Yeah, it was right in the middle of that, and we did a reading, and it was really fun. And a bunch of people.
That's cool.
It's really cool. So that's still out there, and if you want to buy it, it's at you can get it at Amazon or Barnes & Noble or at Pelicanesis, and it's called All His Damned Mother's Sons, and it's by Tim Kirk, and it's a hoot of a book. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I had a blast with it. I really, really enjoyed it. So definitely recommend that to everybody. If you haven't already picked it up, you should definitely go out and track it down, because it's definitely worth your time.
Oh, thanks a lot. Well, I'm glad to have been able to jump in here.
Yeah.
And Eric, and
yeah, I appreciate it. And so I think you're going to be back next week.
Great.
We're gonna be talking about an independent film called Tales of Dracula. So I'm excited to get to that one with you. And of course, you can find us on all the socials at The Frankencast. You can email us at thefrankencast@gmail.com. And you can find us over at patreon.com/thefrankencast, where there's all kinds of bonus episodes. And, like I've been saying, if you're missing Eric, he will be back here soon. But in the meantime, there's all kinds of, a huge back catalog of episodes with Eric and I. So you can take time to binge those while you're waiting for him to return. Because, we'd love to have you check out all those episodes over there. And if there's nothing else to be said, to be continued.
Looks like you survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media. It's hosted by Anthony Bowman and Eric Velasquez. Follow us on Twitter at The Frankencast, or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.